Hello and welcome to another episode of Be oh, Jesus of Between the Bases. Sorry, I'm trying to post the live link on social media. Um, it's like being weird. My camera's being weird today. So this is kind of an emergency episode. I wasn't planning on doing an episode tonight. There we go. But some things have gone on in baseball in the baseball world today, so I thought, do a stream tonight. So, first of all, I wanted to kind of address the elephant in the room. Legendary voice of the Milwaukee Brewers and voice of baseball in general, Bob Uecker, passed away this morning at the age of 90. His family announced that he had been hiding some lung cancer, also, his age. So, my heart goes out to him and his family. Um, and he's really he was really a great dude in baseball for a very long time, and the baseball world is gonna miss having Uke around. So definitely mourning the loss of Bob Uecker, but on to different things today. So the first thing that I want to cover on this edition, Alonso drama. So I kind of spoke about it a little bit on my stream on Tuesday night. I published an article. It came out at noon today through Substack. So if you don't follow me on socials, my Substack links are posted always on socials to my article. They are completely free. You just have to sign up for a Substack account. Everything is completely free. I don't make people pay for things because I don't think that's right. But please, it would mean a lot if you were to go on there and read my work. But I did put up an article today about Pete Alonso and him and the Mets in the negotiations. I was adamant, and this is before the Andy Martino report came out. I was adamant that the Mets were not going to get a deal done with him. And I felt this way the whole free agency. I felt this way back in November before Juan Soto signed. I feel this way even more now. I think there's some hurt feelings there. I think Pete is hurt a little bit by the Mets and the way they kind of treated him throughout this free agency. When I say treated him, I mean they kind of shoved him to the side, you know, and focused on other things. Now, in the Mets' defense, they offered him a huge offer. The 7 years, 158 million, and he declined it. He fired his agent and hired Scott Boras. That act is pretty much declaring war on the New York Mets, and he wanted to get the most money, wanted to get the most years. Neither are going to happen. This free agency from both sides, both the Mets and Pete, have been just bloody and disgraceful. The Mets kind of treated him like he was second nature. Pete Alonso, you know, wanted money over everything, and if he really wanted to be a Met, he would have taken that offer, the latest one with no opt-outs, the 3-year straight deal with high AAV. But instead, he chose the hard road. So Andy Martino of SNY reported that the Mets, after signing Jesse Winker, have moved on to Plan B. Plan B, as in Soto's gone. Not Soto, excuse me. Alonso's gone. They're pivoting. I said Soto because Soto's down there, like the Yankees did post Soto. They're pivoting. Now, I watched a little bit, as much as I could tolerate, of Baseball Night in New York. With Andy Martino explain some more, and there were some other personalities on there. And I'm gonna get into more of things said and other rumors that I've seen on my next segment. But they pretty much confirmed right now the Mets are operating the rest of this offseason as if Pete Alonso's not coming back. So, what teams are going to be in on Pete? Who knows? The Blue Jays are rumored. The Anaheim Angels have been rumored for a while. There's some other teams, I'm sure. The Diamondbacks, I wouldn't be shocked. Um, if he can play other positions, I know he's a first baseman and probably a DH. After that, I know the Blue Jays were interested in putting him at first and Vlady at third. Would he be interested in playing another position and going to, I don't know, the other New York team if there's bad blood? I'm not saying I want him on the Yankees. I'm saying that would kind of create some fun storylines about with the Subway series. And if you subscribe to my Substack, you might be reading about that tomorrow morning, with some fun baseball rivalry storylines. So, yeah, Pete's gone from the Mets. I said this the whole offseason. I always thought that this was happening, where these two sides were never going to come to a deal because David Stearns didn't like the kind of player he was. And Steve Cohen, and I'll give Steve Cohen credit, didn't want to step in to the negotiations on this one. He wanted to let the baseball people be the baseball people and the ownership be the ownership. And I really do respect that, because he could have stepped in and been like, all right, Pete, I'll give you whatever you want. And he didn't. And I give him a lot of credit. So moving on to the next segment, Vlady contract. So yesterday there were talks, and some people thought it could have been a leverage play by Boris and his friends and Heyman and all them. You know, the Mets showed some interest, made a telephone call to the Toronto Blue Jays to inquire about the availability of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s services. The Mets were, I guess, putting together a package. I don't know if that part was true. That was from Mike Rodriguez. So, everything from him you take with a grain of salt. But they were at least talking about trading for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. internally. The Mets have been very open on wanting to sign him after the 2025 season. Now, the Toronto Blue Jays, someone from their side today, came out with a statement saying that the Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. have re-engaged in contract negotiation talks and are trying to get a deal done ahead of the date Vladdy gave. So here's my 2 cents on this. If the Blue Jays are serious about keeping Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they need to do it now. They need to do it before he hits free agency. They need to do it before spring training. They need to shut down any prospect that this guy can be traded. The only guy from that core class I would trade or consider is Bo Bichette, and that depends on what he looks like in spring training because teams are going to be, needing, a player kind of like Bo, and maybe he needs a change of scenery as well. I would not trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. if I were the Blue Jays, unless you can't get a deal done. Now, the Mets, for whatever reason, are the most logical option to trade for. Is that just because they're the Mets and then they can just extend him? Okay, that's fine, but that means jack. I mean, honestly, that means nothing. Right now, I think that the Blue Jays need to work hard on getting a deal done. You extend him. There's no worry about, hitting free agency after the year. You just finish out the season and you go from there. And that way he's locked up long term. You know the problem. You know the blueprint of what this team's going to look like in the future. You have Vlady locked up. Do you move Vlady to third and sign Pete for a 3-year deal with opt-outs after the second, third, or opt-out after the second year? That's an option for the Mets, for the Blue Jays, and then your team gets stronger. If they want to make their team stronger, this is the way they do it. If for whatever reason Toronto does not come to a deal with with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., if the Blue Jays are smart, and I wrote this in my article today, if the Blue Jays are smart, they trade him. That way they can get prospect capital back on the value that Vladdy had. If they're smart, they send him packing. If they really want to get a deal done, they're gonna have to cave and give him money. They've been so open to giving everybody else money. This really shouldn't be that hard to the Blue Jays front office. Evidently, it is. I don't know why, but this should not be that hard to them. So the third and final segment, and we'll spend a little time on this one. Arenado buzz. So it was posted by a page last night, Cardinals Live, right before I went on to do my Yankee podcast, that Arenado was back. The Cardinals front office were back in talks with teams. There was a stalemate between the Cardinals and the Red Sox. They were talking who's going where, and I guess those talks have stopped. You know, I guess nothing's happening. So the Yankees, I guess, were contacted by the Cardinals. From this is how I interpret everything I've read. The Yankees were recontacted by the Cardinals, and I guess they are really keen on moving Nolan Arenado. I'm a Yankee fan. I didn't know how I felt to begin with. I don't know. To begin with, hold on 1 second. To begin with, I don't know what happened with Arenado and other teams. I really don't. From what I see, I think Arenado is going to probably be moved. I think, and I know this might be like, well, you're a Yankee fan. Of course, you're going to say this. I think he's going to the Yankees. I think he's going to the Yankees because, there are a couple reasons. Number one, the Yankees need to move away from Marcus Stroman. One asset the Cardinals can use is a starting pitcher who can give you innings. Marcus Stroman can do that. I really think that the Yankees kind of need Nolan Arenado. I think the Cardinals kind of need a starting pitcher. I think the Yankees need to throw in some depth in there. And I'm also taking notes from Yankee moves in the past week or so, and some other external things that have come up in the past hour or so that make me believe that this is kind of happening and kind of happening quick. Marcus Stroman, who would be one of the players probably going, I know there were trade rumors, and St. Louis said hell no. But St. Louis also needs to move this player, and, spring training is in a month. And they know that. Spring training's in a month. It's going to be harder to move Nolan Arenado during spring training than it is to move him now. So at least he knows where he's going. So from that, I interpret Marcus Stroman cleared out his Instagram bio, cleaned out his Instagram name, his profile picture, all that fun stuff. Now, is that anything indicative of anything? He could be just dicking around, but I think, there have been signs all offseason, and it's been very clear the Yankees are trying to trade him. It's not a secret that the Yankees don't want him. There's not really a place for him. The Yankees also made a depth move and got Dom Smith. And Yankee fans were like, well, why? Is he just a first baseman in the minor leagues and it's Ben Rice? Well, the way I interpret this is Ben Rice is going. Ben Rice is gone. He's on the block. The Yankees have catchers coming up through the minor leagues. So Ben Rice is gone. Dom Smith is going to take over that role because they had comparable numbers. He's pretty much going to be Ben Rice. And then the Yankees, got that pitcher yesterday from the Cubs that they DFA'd in one of the deals they made. That could be a map like pitching project. Can be your Will Warren, your starter on the shuttle. And I think that there's something in the works between these two sides. Cardinals Live, shout out if you're watching. A lot of great content there, and they consistently have good sources, good rapport with the Cardinal organization. They know stuff, and they're not just spreading BS. I think that there's a good chance Arenado's moved. I think to the Yankees, but I don't really have substantial evidence of it's to the Yankees. But that's what I think. So that's gonna be it for this emergency edition of the pod. Roki Sasaki, I guess, was supposed to sign. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but I saw a Japanese paper that said that he's going to sign soon. Nothing yet. I still think he goes to San Diego. I think there's just all signs pointing to San Diego for that. But until something's final, um, hold on. Mike Puma, who writes for the New York Post Mets, just tweeted out the Mets told Starling Marte last month they would try to trade him to a better situation, but at the same time could see a role for him if he stays. Even with Jesse Winker's return, Marte figures as a righty DH possibility. Right now, no traction for a trade. So the Mets are trying to shop. Um, the Mets are trying to shop him, which kind of makes sense. So, you know, the Mets are in a little bit of trouble right now, and as we get closer to the regular season, and I do an episode breaking down each team and their outlook of the year, and I'm going to publish a power rankings on my blog. I'll publish the power rankings, and then from bottom to top, I'm gonna go through each one, probably starting next week, and I'm going to rank them, and I'm gonna do an episode on them. And right now, the Mets are not in the top 5. They're in the top 10 because I, I mean, Juan Soto and Lindor, but I don't know if that's enough to carry that team and that pitching staff. But as it sits now, they're in the top 10. It might be number 10 because there are better teams than them. And, losing Pete, who would have been the perfect hitter in that lineup to combat a Juan Soto, kind of the way I can't compare them, kind of the way Aaron Judge was to Pete Alonso. To Juan Soto, it can kind of feel like that. So that's where the Mets look right now. I still think Vlady stays with Toronto, and I think Arenado gets moved to the Yankees. So if you're a baseball fan, please like and subscribe. I'm on all social media platforms, Instagram, Threads, all platforms at Between the Bases, and then the little underscore at the back end on Instagram. On X, it's just my name here. On Substack, it's there, and that link is in Instagram as well. That's where I publish my articles. In my Instagram stories, I have the direct links to all the articles. They are all completely free. If it has you just sign up for an account, that's, I guess, what they do, but everything's completely free. So thank you so much and have a great day, and let's go baseball.